So this is the Mazda CX-5. This particular variant is actually the second generation Mazda CX-5, also known as the KF variant. Previously launched in 2017, this car is a C-segment SUV that goes against the likes of the Honda CR-V, the Kia Sorento, as well as the Proton X70. Now, the model that we have currently here is the 2-liter mid variant, which is actually the lowest spec you can get. Starting price around 132,000 ringgit, which to me, I personally think is probably the bargain right here, considering the fact that the Mazda, in my opinion at least, is probably the best SUV you can get on the market, especially for the price and what it offers you.
This particular unit that we have here is a 2.0 liter, 162 horsepower and 212 Nm of torque. It pairs with a 6-speed automatic transmission. Yes, and you do get the shifter and also sports mode. For the headlights, it's different from the high variant because you still get the projector headlights, but you don't get the DRLs. So for this particular model that we have here is a 17-inch single-tone design. But if let's say you have optional to get the higher trim model, you get a 2-tone design and a 19-inch rims. While meanwhile for the brakes, you get a ventilated disc in front and a solid disc at the back. So for the mid spec, you do not get a power tailgate obviously because it's a lower spec, but if let's say you buy a high variant or 2.2 diesel and above, you definitely get a power tailgate. But let's say you have to pull it out, it's pretty simple, you don't need to use a lot of force. Yeah, I have a boot space of 442 liters and I can smuggle Tawin inside, which is I can just, kidnap him. For the seats, I can actually lower it for more space if you want to. You can actually lower it down by pulling this lever here. And all the seats are down. And you get a full flat, I guess. Kind of full. Yeah. Full. Flat. Yes. So for the Mazda CX-5, they actually give you a full-size rims and also some tools that you can use to whack people, I guess.
Now the interior is actually a very nice place to be. There's a lot of, there's not very much plastic. The dashboard is actually nice leather. You have a lot of soft touch materials, especially armrests here. They're all very nice to the touch. However, I do have one complaint, which is the scratchy plastic here. But then again, if you don't put your hands here that often, you won't exactly notice it. But I don't think that is quite a big issue. However, it's one thing to consider. Now, of course, you get a full leather steering wheel, which is applicable, which is standard across the range, and you get a multi-function steering wheel with your radio controls, your cruise control, as well as your phone controls. Then, of course, in the 2-liter mid variant, you actually get tilt and telescopic, which is absolutely great. I know that some cars in this price range also, they don't have telescopic, which is kind of a shame, but it's alright. Then you get your very nice premium feeling turn stock indicators as well as your wiper indicators. Now your gauge cluster is actually an analog mixed with a digital, so you still get very nice speedo and attacker, as well as you get some information like your driving range, your fuel consumption, your mileage, so on, which is very nice. Of course, the car standard across the range comes with keyless entry as well as push start ignition, so which is very good. Then your infotainment display is actually touchscreen. However, when you're driving it, you cannot use the touchscreen, so you can only use the infotainment scroll wheel that is located over here, as well as your volume controls, which is absolutely great because it ensures more safety. You also get your climate control vents. Here, as well as your climate controls here, which are actually very straightforward to the touch. Very nice to the touch, very straightforward. I know that certain cars at this price range, they will also give like digital climate controls, which is not very practical, especially when you're driving. So having something physical to touch is actually very good. And plus, these controls are here, they're actually aluminum, so they are very nice to the touch. I'm glad that Mazda have thought of giving us, these are the things that we get to touch every day. So I'm glad that it's something good to touch, and it's not like plastic or rubber that just kind of wears out over time. So over here, you actually get a 12-volt socket Then your center console, you actually get your drive select, your parking brake, your auto hold, as well as your media controls, and you get two cup holders which are ample enough of basically cup holders to put like your McDonald's if you want to go drive through. Then inside the center console over here, you actually get another 12-volt outlet, so there's actually two. You also get an aux cable, an aux port, two USB ports, and an SD card slot. Now, the center armrest, the space is actually quite adequate, so you cannot fit like a water bottle inside, but you can fit like some small stuff like notes and stuff like that. Now, standard across the range, you get 6 airbags for all the variants, which is actually very good because safety first. Now, in the 2-liter mid variant, you actually get fabric seats. However, in the 2-liter high variant as well as variants on top of that, you get leather seats, which to me are much more comfortable compared to the fabric seats. Plus, they are more they have a more premium feeling. Now, of course, in the 2-liter high variant and above, you actually get powered seats for the two front rows, and as well as you get memory seats. However, in the 2-liter mid variant, you don't get powered seats. It's more or less manual seats. Now, standard across the range, you get rear parking sensors. However, in the 2-liter high variant and above, you get front and rear parking sensors. And of course, the 2-liter high variant and above, you actually get 360 camera. But for this, you actually get just the reverse camera only, which is quite adequate depending on exactly how you use this. Besides that, I think to me this is such a great interior lah. Of course, you get a lot of the typical safety features like electronic stability control, anti-lock braking. However, in like the higher trim models, you get blind spot assist, lane keep assist. So obviously, the more you pay, the more features you get. But you also get start-stop, which helps you in saving fuel economy, as well as you get your traction control off button, which is great. Now, for the rear passenger seats, it's actually quite nice. You get a lot of leg room, you get a lot of headroom. Now, of course, I am 170 cm, so for someone who's my size, I'm actually very, very comfortable here. Of course, at the back, you get 2 rear aircon vents. Of course, this is actually dual zone climate control. You don't get 4 zone, which is absolutely fine for this price range. Your finishing and everything is actually very, very nice. And you also get an armrest where you can keep 2 cup holders and an interesting slot here, which I think can only fit a pen, maybe a phone, but I don't think that will be very comfortable. Then you also get some storage over here, as well as 2 more USB ports, which is very, very interesting. So you get some pouches over here and your interior lighting, which is nice. However, for some reason, for the CX-5, when you touch on the top of the roof, it kind of wiggles. Your handrest, as well as your coat hook, and overall, I would say the bag is actually very, very comfortable. Of course, again, if you opt for the leather seats, it is a lot better, and at the same time, you also get some headrest that you can adjust. So yeah, it's quite a nice place to be. Although I do have one complaint, which is regarding about the windows. As you can see, they don't go fully down. So I think this is something that can be improved on, especially if you have kids who want to, see outside. This can sometimes be a pain. So just that. But besides that, it's actually a very, very nice rear to be in.
So the 5 pros that I think that this car is nice is that, first of all, is the visibility. For a huge car, obviously I hope that this trim comes with a 360 camera. But so far, the side mirror even mounted on the doors is actually quite, the front, the back is actually quite nice to be viewed around. Secondly is the build quality. The build quality is actually, everywhere it's like you feel it's all leather, it's actually all soft touch and everything. Everything seems really nice. Thirdly, it does come with Apple CarPlay standard across the range. So if you have an Apple product, you use Android or iPhone, it's actually straight away, you don't need to have a third-party apps kind of thing, and the screen is perfect. Fourthly is the sound system. The sound system for stock car is actually pretty good, unless you have a higher taste of musics. I forgot the last one. What's the last one? No need stop, continue first, wait. Lastly, the handling. For Mazda car, as usual, we know that the handling is actually quite good. It uses the McPherson strut in front and torsion beam at the back. For Mazda, torsion beam, as what we all know, is actually pretty good. So we drove this car and everything, for cornering, it actually feels great. That's it for the 5 Pros, sorry. So the cons of buying this car will be, first of all, it doesn't equip with standard with 360 camera. From what I think that this car is actually quite big, the visibility is somewhat good enough, but I would think that 360 camera does helps a lot more. Second thing, I would think that the reverse camera, the quality is actually quite bad. For better cars, I think for such a nice luxury car, consider it as a luxury car, I think a proper quality of reverse camera will be better. Thirdly, there is no center locking in the middle. So if let's say you have a passenger on the side, they probably have to just stretch their hand and probably lock it from all the way from here. Fourth, the car itself, the engine itself, I would think that it's actually insufficient power because this car weighs about 1.5 tons. So probably a 2.2 diesel or even 2.5 turbo is definitely a better choice for this car if you requires more power. Lastly, the turning radius is actually not as good as what we think. You probably, if let's say you have a tight U-turn to do it, you probably have to reverse and turn it again.